Hey guys, Veebat here with another V-Plays, and today we're going to be taking out the BVP.212. We are working on specialization. That will take away my option to put on the air-to-ground rockets, if I'm not mistaken. But I'm fine with the R4Ms. They do reload in about 60 seconds, which is identical to that of BVP.210. But we do get an additional 20mm cannon with this, and these 20mm cannons are just a little bit more to them than most 20mm cannons do. Most 20mm cannons at this tier have a dispersion of 0.55 and an auto aim of 2.5, and if I'm not mistaken, I believe these have the same auto aim angle of 3 that you would get with like your P1092, etc. On top of that, our dispersion's only 0.5 instead of what you see with other similar aircraft. And one prime example would be the Seahawk with the Hispano Mark Vs at this tier are going to see a 0.55 dispersion. So that's why these guns feel more accurate, because they are more accurate. They also have a higher shell velocity. It's, I think, 533 opposed to 489, which is what you would get with the Hispanos. So yeah, this aircraft has much easier guns to use. I should have F2'd that from the beginning. What are you thinking, B? I think we can win the dogfights, and that's kind of where my head's at right now, because if we can win the dogfights, then we're going to have an advantage. I might even go so far as to try and go to their command center and see what I can do to interrupt these folks. Bart is the human on their team. They got an F-15C. It looks like they just had a bot crash. That gives us a little bit of breathing room, but they also have a specialized RB-17. On our team, however, oh, what are you? You coming up to me? You're coming down to me. They have, yeah, the specialized RB-17, and we got a 262 unspecialized human. So hopefully he can counter that guy. We'll see. Chances are low that that's going to happen though. Let's go for the human. Yeah, we didn't even need to. He wasn't paying attention. We got that guy. We are now onto the 262. If we can keep both of these, then we should theoretically just get the mine, right? What's this guy doing? He's heading away. He's going towards the bomber, using that accuracy, and we picked up the zone. Nice. There's the F-84 from earlier, the one that crashed. We'll go ahead and dive on this guy. The guns do overheat fairly quickly, and against beefier targets like this, it's a little bit troublesome to say the least. So we're going to go ahead and divert and dive away. We'll talk a little bit about this aircraft once we finish the battle, but there are some attributes that are in the game that are very reminiscent of what this aircraft was meant to do initially. So let's go ahead and see if we can do this. We took him out. I knew that was going to be risky, and I knew we were probably going to take damage doing it, but it felt good being able to get those rockets off. There's the F-84. Let's go ahead and see if we can outmaneuver this guy, at least enough to be able to do that. Nice brushing past to take out the target. The bomber might be working on our command center now. We'll see. He's got to go a long distance to do anything effective. Oh, he turned at me. Oh, that was a mistake. I saw him going after the other aircraft. I made the mistake of thinking he was going to stay on that other aircraft. Yeah, I just saw a bomber icon pop up. We'll hop over here. Taking on a RB-17 is going to be tricky, but if I can catch him while he's dropping and he's in the reticle view, then I might be able to get behind him and fire the rockets without him taking manual control of his gunners. What do we want to do here? What do we want to do? Alright, we got one hit there. It doesn't matter, they're going to get this command center. Let's burn over and see what we can do. Maybe we can get a sneaky shot in here. I see that heavy. Is he diving on me? I'm going to hope not. No, he went right past us. They did pick up the zone. There's a human-controlled F-15C. We took his tail. Now we know we got the advantage. He is not fixing it. He does not have the consumable on this aircraft. And now he's lost all of his advantage. He doesn't even have the speed anymore. And there's the specialized RB-17 up above us. But we did get their mine, which is what we were hoping for. We actually got a slam on the brakes, and it still wasn't enough to be able to get around on that guy. It's a 287. Why did I think it was an RB-17? That's even worse. Some of you guys probably picked that up when I hit the tab button. I didn't even notice it. Oh boy. This guy's still on my 6. I thought that was him. That was the defense aircraft. Oh, come on, V. Get your head in the game. Where are we at? We lost the airfield. We might be able to go take it back. The enemy bomber is currently over the command center. I need to be F2 in those folks. In order, or F4ing rather, in order to get some folks on them. Let's see what we can do. See rocket bursts in the air there. It's the 287's going for the mine. I think that's the 287. Can't see him. He's not in my render. No, that's him. Yeah, we're dumping on Jazz. We're doing it. Got him. Now we can dogfight a heavy.
Bomber squadron detected. Engage them immediately. Victory is in sight. Keep it up.
Let those guns cool off. Get the kill in the zone. Perfect. It's a Jawa. He's not looking at me. Not looking at me. Got a few hits. Ooh. Yep, that sucks. We're going to go to the mid. Again, we can win the dogfights. Do we help the bot? I kind of want to help him because... Not because I really think I need to help him, but because I want to take out the human-controlled aircraft. We'll have our pneumatic assist in a second here. We're alternating boost and brake in order to kind of kick the nose around a little bit. It is Squall Line. He's going to try and spawn at this airfield. And we had managed to sneak away a victory. Okay, good game. Despite me misidentifying that aircraft. So let's go back to the hangar and look at the post-game stats. And we'll talk a little bit about what generated this weird paper aircraft, as well as several others in the game, because we get a lot of representation for a singular project that the Germans kind of initiated in order to try and pull things out at the end of the war. Not that they really were going to be able to do that. Production was going to be really rough. We did get a bunch towards specialization. In order for us to get specialization, we have to earn points for destroying enemy aircraft. So if you destroy an enemy aircraft, you get 200 points. I think it still gives you credit for like the 75s and the 125s for getting a portion of the damage or even the majority of damage. We've already accomplished the AA piece. I did that by loading up the rockets, the air-to-ground rockets, and using those. But let's see here. We managed to take out 15 aircraft, 1 bomber, 4 heavies, 2 multi-rolls, and 4 fighters, to include 4 defense aircraft as well. Just goes to show that even a light fighter we're able to engage, because the maneuverability on this platform is pretty good with the 10.6, which allows us to be able to get around on the enemy. 10.6 being the time it takes to do a full 360 turn, at least based on these numbers over here. Our friendly player in the 262 did not do so hot, so we're really lucky to kind of pull that out. But Bart looks like he was having a rough time, considering that I think I killed him like 3 different times. Yeah, I killed him 3 times, so that made it a little bit rough. But we did kill both human players at least once, and we only participated in capturing 1 sector, so that always be capping thing didn't apparently pan out, and we were put in a little bit of a difficult position there. So what do we know about the BVP.212? Well, the BVP.212 is a result of an emergency fighter program. Sounds very dire, right? Well, it all stems from this engine right here. The entire history revolves around a jet engine called the HES-011. It was developed by Heinkel towards the end of the war. And again, jet engines in Germany were a very new technology. I mean, new technology for the world. And we saw them used in the 262s to great effect. However, kind of the hidden thing here is that because it was such new technology, since it did have a lot of forces acting inside of the engine and they needed to have very fine tolerances, they oftentimes would have to go to depot level maintenance. So they'd have to take the engines out of the back of they'd take them out of the engine nacelle of the 262. They'd swap them out so they can keep that bird flying, but they would take those engines and put them in the depot level maintenance to essentially get rebuilt. The HES-011 offered a unique opportunity in the sense that, yes, it was new production, but it was supposed to be a better engine. It could operate at higher altitudes and a little bit better efficiency and better speed. So they had this thing where they said, okay, bids in right away for a single engine fighter. That'll allow us to be able to prevent the engines from being as much of a bottleneck, because every 262 had to have two engines. Now you could get away with just having a single engine, and even if you had to take them out to do a rebuild, it wasn't as bad because it was half the maintenance theoretically. And also the increased altitude would give them a better advantage of intercepting bombers, which was a real problem for the Germans towards the end of the war, because the bombing campaign obviously worked, crippled their manufacturing. And this is just one example of how bad crippling manufacturing can really ruin the development of the tech in the country, because if we hadn't done that, then these might have been flying around and it would have been a real problem. There were 5 different designs that were developed for this emergency fighter program. The BVP series, the 210, the 212 were part of that, as well as what we see in the Huckabee, the TA-183, as well as the Focke-Wulf 252. Those were both paper aircraft that were designed for this competition, along with the HE-162, which we see in game as the Key 162, produced by the Japanese, or as a licensed copy for the Japanese. And then we also saw the P series, which was like your P1101s, P1092s, and we also saw the EF-128 came out of Junkers, or however you say that. So there were 5 different aircraft that were brought into concept as a result of this program, essentially representing all the major German manufacturers: Messerschmitt, Junkers, Blum & Voss, again, I might be mispronouncing that, as well as Focke-Wulf and Heinkel. So we get 4 of those in game in one form or another, considering one of them is Japanese. And it just kind of goes to show like how effective the bombing campaign must have been for these guys to be reacting like that. In addition, we also saw the evolution of the Comet, which we see in game as the J8M. Again, you don't have a lot of jet engines. What's another way to get up to altitude real fast? A liquid rocket system. Granted, it was a rocket-assisted glider. It was really meant to go up, do a couple of runs, and it might have had enough fuel to be able to get a couple more sine waves in, so it would kind of go up and down through the bomber flight and attack the bomber flight from above and below at high speed. But it just shows the desperation at this phase of the war, that they were just trying to do anything they could to try and inhibit the constant onslaught of the bombing campaign, both by the Brits and the US. And of course, as the war progressed, we started to get forward airfields that meant that we could get fighter support longer and further into Germany. And the advent of the P-51 Mustang allowed us to be able to do that even more effectively than we could have done with the P-47. So really some kind of cool history. This is truly a paper aircraft. It never really existed besides in people's minds. And I speculate that the BVP-215 that we see was actually just kind of a conceptual future idea. It was not part of this program explicitly, because that aircraft features 2 engines, and it would have kind of violated the entire premise of the emergency fighter project of a single engine fighter. But I digress. Hopefully you guys enjoyed today's video and again learned a little bit about the history of these aircraft. So I'll catch you guys on the next one.